Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've tried to record this video like 8 times, and it took me like forever to get the courage to actually record it because this subject is really touchy to me that I'm going to talk about today. So basically I'm just going to talk to you guys about how to cope with losing a parent and how I lost my mom. So this video is pre-recorded. I'm recording it September the 5th, and it'll be out tomorrow. So when you guys see it, it'll be September the 6th. And that is the 1-year anniversary that my mother passed away. So I wanted to get this video out in honor of her, just to help people out. Like, I feel like I'm here on this earth to inspire people. So that's why that's why I'm doing this whole YouTube thing, is because I feel like I'm here to inspire people. So I wanted to do this video in honor of her because I wanted to help inspire other people and help them deal with coping of losing a parent or losing a loved one, a guardian, whatever you want to call it. Just losing somebody that's really, really close to you. Most specifically a parent though. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how I cope with it, like what has helped me out through this year, and my mom's situation, like what happened and how she passed away. So I'm going to give you guys 4 tips that can help you with coping with losing a parent. I looked on YouTube earlier and I was trying to figure out like how to start this video, and a lot of times it said on the header like how to deal with losing a parent, but I feel like you never stop dealing with losing your parent. Losing your mom or dad, you're always going to deal with it. Like, I'm dealing with it today, I'm going to deal with it forever, I'm going to deal with it tomorrow. So you're never going to stop dealing with it, but it's how you cope with it. So that's what I'm going to call this. So just 4 good reasons or good tips to help you with coping with losing a parent. So my first tip is to cry. So you cannot hold your tears in. It's chemically formed in our body for us to cry when we're sad. Like, it's been genetically proven and tested by all these psychiatrists and everything else. So is that we have to cry whenever we feel sad to let out those endorphins, to move on, to help with coping. So you have to cry. You cannot let that in. You cannot hold it in. From a firm believer, I've always hold stuff in because I feel like I just need to be strong on the outside and stuff like that, but on the inside I'm really sensitive. But you have to. I've held so much in before, and one day it just exploded and I just blurted it all out, and I just started crying, and I felt nauseous, and I just felt sick, and I was just exhausted. So you have to cry in order so you don't feel like that, because that was like the worst feeling ever, is feeling just having all this stuff built in and then just crying and letting it out, and then you're just overly like emotional and you're just feeling sick and stuff, and that's just not a good feeling. So my advice for you is just to cry. One day you're just going to be sitting there and you're going to be looking at stuff, and you're going to see a picture of your mom or dad, or something is going to pop up. You're going to see something, a song is going to play, and you're going to think about your parent, but don't hold it in. It's okay to cry. I went to a wedding the other day, like a couple of months ago, and they had a little son and mother dance. And I just started crying. I was like, oh my God, I'll never be able to do this, to dance with my mom. So it was just really, really heartbreaking. And people were just looking at me like, why is she crying? And I was just like, I just lost my mom a couple months ago. So it's okay to cry. Like, you just have to cry. So my advice is to you just to let it cry. Just let it all out. If you need to cry, just let it out. I promise you, you'll just feel way better in the end for doing that. My second advice and my tip is to talk to somebody. Talk to family or friends. It's the same thing as crying. Holding it in, always holding all this stuff in, it's not healthy. So you need to let it out. So it's okay to go ahead and call your friend, or if a friend calls you and it's just like, hey, well, you want to talk, and you're just like, you just go ahead and express your emotions out, basically. So don't be afraid to don't be afraid to let others in, because if you don't let them in, what are you going to do? You're just going to block these emotions out, and they're just going to stick in, and you're just going to be angry all the time. So my second tip for you to do is just talk to a family or friend, somebody that's really, really close to you. Now, if you don't have anybody to talk to, you can always talk to God. I don't know if you're religious or not, but you can do that as well. So yeah. So my next tip is you have to move. You cannot sit around. So the other day I was feeling really, really sad and stuff like that, thinking about my mom, and I didn't feel like getting off the couch. So I laid there on the couch, and I just felt so horrible. Like, I was like, I have to get up, Tasha. Like, you can't just sit here and not do anything. You're just going to sit here and you're going to continue to think and think and think. And that's one of the main issues, is that you're just always going to think about it. So if you move around you and start like saying, hey, I'm going to actually go clean the kitchen today. Let me go clean the kitchen. Let me go keep myself busy. Let me go work out or something like that. You just have to move your body to get those endorphins and everything, your blood circulation moving, and you're going to be feeling better. So my next tip is for you to move. So my last tip is probably one of the best tips, I think, is to think about what your next goal is. So, like me, when my mother passed away, I was in school during that time. And when she passed away, I thought about, like, I need to do something to honor her. I need to set a goal and achieve it. And then I will feel better because I honored her with this grade. So I set a goal of getting a 95 or higher in my class. And I did it, and I felt really good. And you feel like you actually achieved something, and you did it for whoever passed away, your mom or your dad, and you just feel like really achieving. You know that they're up there smiling at you and saying that you're doing a great job, and that's just going to make you feel better on the inside. So my last tip is to set a goal and then go after that goal. And once you completed that goal, set another goal and then go after that goal. And then just always say, like, I'm doing this from whoever, my mom, I'm doing this in honor of my mother, I'm doing this in honor of my dad. Just so you know, when you actually achieve that goal, you'll feel so much better. You know that they're up there looking and smiling down at you. So those are my 4 tips I have for you guys. So I'm going to go into now tell you about how my mother passed away. So my mother passed away on September 6, 2016. She died at a young age. She was 53. I'm the only child. She was never married. She married, but she also got a divorce. So it was always just me and her. So I'm trying not to cry. I'm going to try not to cry during this video for you guys, okay? So you may hear my voice get a little wavery or whatever. So, she died at 53. I was only child, and it was just always me and her. It's always been me and my mom. She would get married, and then she'd get a divorce. And it was just always me and her. Like, we had each other's back. Like, that was my rock. Like, she was my blanket. And she was always there for me. She was my biggest supporter. She was my biggest motivator. She always held me down. She was just my blanket. So, you know, there's that extent of a mother. There's no bond like a mother-daughter bond. There's never going to be a bond like that. And we shared that bond to the highest. So, what happened last year in July, I got the opportunity to train into nuclear medicine school at San Antonio, and I'm in the military. And on this outside, on the civilian side, nuclear medicine school is about 2 years. And on military side, it's a year, like 13 months. So needless to say, nuclear medicine school in the military is very hard. It's one of the top 4 hardest military medical schools that are in the Air Force. So it was very, very stressful. So I get here in July. I was able to retrain. I thank God by that, because he works in such mysterious ways, because I think he brought me to San Antonio to go home to be with her for her last couple of weeks or her last couple of months, because he knew that she wasn't, she was going to pass away. So this was my way of being with her last couple of months. So I thank God for that. So I get here in July, and I'm in school, and it's very hard. Like, I'm learning math, and I'm learning physics, and it's very accelerated. So we learn things like one day, and then we test the next day. So it's very, very hard course. So I get a call like on a Thursday in August, and my aunt's just like, oh yeah, your mom's been falling on the floor and she can't get up. So mind you, my mother she was obese. She was 300 pounds and she weighed 5'5". She was 5'5" and she weighed 300 pounds. So she was obese. She was a bigger lady. So my aunt called and she was like, your mom's been falling and she didn't want to call you and we have you worry about her. So she's been on the floor for like 3 days. So I'm here now to get the EMT people to come here and take her to the hospital. And I was like, she's been on the floor for 3 days. What do you mean? And she was like, well, your mom didn't want you to worry, so she just stayed there and just prayed that she can get up the next day. Every day she would do that. And I was just like, really? Like, mother, like, you can't be doing stuff like that. So that just lets you know how much of a courageous woman she was. Like, she was very hardworking, and she was a very strong woman. And she was a very God-leading woman. And so they took her to the emergency room, and in the emergency room, she's there, and they try to get her up, and she can't get up because they found out that her spine, her vertebrae was bone to bone, so it was just grinding. So she had nothing in between. So they're just bone to bone, and she couldn't feel anything in her legs, and then her right arm was hurting. So there was a pinch somewhere between her L5, S1 that's making her legs go numb. So they're saying that she can't move because if she were to move and she makes the wrong move, she can stop breathing because it can, her spinal cord's right there and stuff like that. So they had her bedridden, so they were trying to get out of the emergency room and have her to go to a home, not like a nursing home, I guess, no, at home. Like a nurse will come and take care of her and stuff like that. So we waited for like the weekend because she went in on a Thursday, and then they admitted her on Friday. No, they admitted her Thursday night, and she stayed Friday and Saturday. So they couldn't get a hold of any insurance company, so she stayed the weekend. So while she was staying there the weekend, she just got really worse. She got real worse. She was just in so much pain, and they kept giving her pain meds, and her blood pressure kept going down. So one night, her blood pressure just went completely down to like 70s to over 40s. And the nurse didn't know what to do. So I didn't know about this until the next day. So the next day I get a phone call, and the doctor calls me and he tells me, hey, we need you to come in. We found something in your mom's CT scan, and we need you to come in and we need to talk about what we're going to do. And he told me briefly what it was. He said, in the CT scan we found a mass on her liver, and she also had some specks in her lung. Did it stop? Oh, no. She also has some specks on her lung, and her heart is basically failing right now. She's just not doing too well right now. And I was just like, it came out of nowhere. Like, I was just with her the weekend before. Like, all of this just came out of nowhere. Like I said, she was 53, she was young. None of this happened. All of a sudden, all of this came on me at once. And I was in school, and the school was very hard. And every day after school, because we would have a test the next day, so every day after school, we get out around, I was in school from 7 to 5, and then after school, I would go visit her at the hospital. And I did this for 2 weeks. And I would go visit her in the hospital, be with her for a little while, like till about 8, 9, 10 o'clock. And then I would go home and study for at least 2 to 3 hours and get ready for the next day. So let me tell you that those 2 weeks I was stressed out. I was only getting about 2-3 hours of sleep. So back to the story. I remember when he called and told me that, and I remember I had to go up there, and I drove to the hospital, and I just felt empty inside. Like, when I was driving to the hospital, I listened to gospel music, try to lift me up. And when I was walking into the hospital, I just felt completely empty. Like, I remember just walking. I had tears in my eyes, and I remember just walking and not feeling anything. Like, I just felt like my soul was gone. Something was not right. And sorry. And I remember just walking, and I just was just like, what is happening, God? Like, what's going on? Like, I can't believe this is happening right now. Like, I'm about to lose my mom. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, Tasha, get your shit together. Like, stop. Like, come on, bring it. Get it together. And I just remember walking, and then I walked up there, and then I remember my aunt was there with the doctor and the nurse, and we all had a huddle. And the doctor was like, so we need to figure out what we're going to do with your mother. And then I was just like, oh, shit, here it comes. I already know what's going to happen. And he was like, so we found a pretty large, decent-sized mass on her liver. And we also found specks on her lung as well. And your mom was a smoker, so that doesn't look any good. We also, last night, her blood pressure went down to 70/40, so we're keeping her on epinephrine right now to keep our blood pressure up because she almost coded last night. And I was just like, shit. Like, talking about getting hit with the freaking 18-wheeler. I got hit with something way bigger than that. And I was just like, oh. Like, I just remember sitting there looking at him with my eyes open, like, okay, alrighty. So what's the next move? And I was like, well, what can you do? And he was like, well, we try to put a port in her so we can biopsy the mass that's in her liver to see if it's actually cancerous, which we think it is. But we want to see if it's actually cancerous. So we want to put a port in her just to get her meds and just be able to draw blood and everything else like that. But we can't get a port in her because she is so obese. We're not able to reach it. And I was just like, wow. And I just remember like, oh man, here it goes. And he was like, we need to decide if you want to put her on DNR. And I already knew that my mom wanted to be DNR'd. She always talked about like, baby, don't ever have them hook me up to anything. Don't ever have them hook me up to no lines. I don't want to be hooked up to nothing. Don't have them stick anything in my throat to keep me alive. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I do not want any man's help. God wants me to go, I want to go too. And I'm ready to be with the Lord. And I have accepted Jesus Christ. So I already knew, and I looked at him and I was like, she's going to want DNR. So he was like, all right, well, since you're the next of kin, you're her only daughter, and she's not married, we're going to have you sign this DNR paperwork. So I signed the DNR paperwork, and we go in there and tell her that's, what the outcome is. Like, Mom, hey, you have this and this and this and this. What do you want to do? And she was coherent at the time, so she was able to answer. And she said, you know what? It's my time to go, and I have accepted what I have done. And just put me on DNR. And then she just looked at my aunts and said, just take care of my baby. She's like, as long as you guys just take care of my baby, I will be okay. So she was always looking out for me, even when I never looked out for her. You get so busy in life with your friends and work, and you forget sometimes that you have parents back home that worry about you. So don't ever forget to call them. Don't ever forget to tell them you love them, because you never know when the last day is for them. Excuse me, guys. Told myself I wouldn't cry. Okay, so we ended up putting her on DNR, and they decided to, so there was nothing they can do. They can just put her in hospice care. So we put her in hospice care, and she was there for about a couple of days. I want to say maybe a week. They didn't think she was going to last that long. They thought maybe at least 2 days. But I think she lasted for at least 5 to 7 days. And we put her in hospice care, and I remember one of the days I was trying to hold back everything in. Like, I didn't really talk to anybody. I kind of just held all my feelings in. And I remember one day I walked into the hospice where she was staying, and I saw her on the bed, and she had this death rattle. They call it a death rattle because that's when they're getting ready to pass away. And it's just basically mucus that's caught up in there. So she was just there, laying there, and I remember just looking at her, and I looked, and I had to leave, and I just looked, and I just went outside, and I just cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I said, that's not my mom in there. That's not my mom that's laying there on that bed, just there. My mom is a courageous woman. And I always thought she was Wonder Woman, so I just could never believe that was her there laying on her deathbed, just helpless. So I sat there and cried, and I remember my aunt was just like, you need to just go ahead and let it all out. Just let it. And I did, and I'm not going to say I felt 10 times better, but I felt better. So that happened, and then she ends up passing away on September 6th, and we have her funeral a couple of days later. And I'm here now. I'm able to talk to you guys and tell you guys about my trials and my tribulations dealing with her death. I'm going to tell you, if you lost a parent, either Mother's Day or Father's Day was probably one of the hardest days for me, getting through those days, because people were just like, oh, don't forget to send your mom a card, and Happy Mother's Day, and oh, pictures with mommy, and I took mom to dinner and stuff like that. And it was just hard to see that on Facebook. It's just like, God, like, I wish I could do that. So I was pretty, that was a hard time for me. Mother's Day was hard for me. This is being hard for me these last couple of days. Been hard for me dealing with the year anniversary of her death. I'm holding it together, but it's still hard. So I just want to say, if you believe in higher up, anybody higher, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. I believe in that Jesus died for our sins. My faith in God is what got me through, to be honest, through everything, through all the like crying and moving on and working out and doing everything else like that. Because working out actually helped me out as well. I was able to release some stress out in the gym. So if working out is what can help you to get your mind off of things, go ahead and do that. It's part of moving. Working out, hanging up pictures, cleaning something around the house. So make sure that you're moving around and everything else like that. But my faith in God is what really got me through. I would wake up every morning and listen to Donnie McClurkin and Kirk Franklin, Yolanda Adams. My favorite song is Order My Steps. And I would listen to those songs on repeat on the way to school, on the way to go see her at the hospital, on the way home. I would listen to gospel music, and that's what uplifted my spirits and kept me going and saying to myself, God, I know you put this on me for a reason. I know I'll be able to get through this. You're not going to put anything too hard on me that I couldn't bear. And I kept telling myself that. And he didn't. Like, I'm a living proof right here. I'm a living testimony right here that you can get through it, through all things, through Christ. So that's pretty much it. That's what helped me coping with my parent. And I wanted to tell you guys, just thank you for listening to my story. If you have anybody that has lost a parent, is losing a mom or losing a dad, or a parent that's going through cancer or anything like that, have them watch my video. Maybe it can help uplift them or give them the tips that I just gave you to help uplift them, because it's not easy. Losing a parent is never easy, and I just wanted to say that you'll get through it. You all get through it. If I'm able to get through it, you will be able to get through it, because I'm telling you, me and my mom were like this. You're gonna have your hard times. You're gonna look at pictures. You're gonna see something. Like, I remember I was at Starbucks and I was getting ready to get out the car, and this was the day after she passed away. And I saw a white dove, and I was just like, is that a dove I see? Because you don't ever see doves like that. Like, when do you ever see doves flying around in San Antonio, Texas? Very rarely. So I remember I was parking at Starbucks and I saw a dove, and I said, oh my God, there's my mom. And she's always going to be there with me no matter what. And I just think about that all the time. And moving out of her house, like I moved into her house, just like getting everything out of her house was very hard, and just going through all her stuff, it was hard for me. Like, I saw old paintings I drew for her. I just saw like little letters I wrote for her when I was a child. You know how you write letters when you're in elementary school to your parents. I found those because she kept everything. So it was very, very emotional for me. So you're gonna have your times I bawled yesterday because I found this. She had a friend of hers make this for me, and it's just a CD, and it has all my pictures in it. I guess it was for her. And I look on the back, and she wrote a poem, and I will read this poem. I'm gonna read this poem to you guys without crying. And this poem is, my mom was a writer. She loved to write poems. She has a poem book. She even sent stuff to get published and stuff like that. So she was a poem writer. She loved writing poems. And so she's read several poems for me, but this one really touched me. So I'll read it to you guys. So it says, she is the apple of her mother's eye. She is the breath that her mother takes. She is her mother's heart desire. She is the joy that brings tears, laughter, and smiles to her mother's face. Her mother sees her as the epitome of all daughters. She's not perfect, but she was created in perfection by God. He created her with a divine plan in mind. She was born with a purpose unbeknown to herself and others. But as time goes on, her purpose for his plans shall be revealed. I am honored and blessed to have her shared with me. Like I said, I'm still crying, but I'm still here, and I'm able to live on through the day. So just wanted to post this video in honor of her. And if you guys just wanted to, like I said, if you know anybody that's going through losing a parent right now, or losing a very close loved one to them, give them these tips or show them this video. And let's inspire everybody. Let's help everybody out. There's so much going on in the world right now, and with all the hurricanes and everything else like that, we all need to come together and just help each other out. So that's why I did this video. So in the next clip, you'll see pictures of me and her, and that'll be the end of this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. My next video is going to be a workout. I am starting a competition prep. So I'm going to do a competition in November. I don't know when though. I'm still trying to decide which one I want to do. So I'm going to do a competition in November, and I'm going to take you guys with me. So you guys are going to see my process and everything else like that. So wish me luck, guys, because Lord knows I need it. Thank you guys again for watching, and I love you guys. And remember to always spread positivity in this world.